motorcycles are at the top of their class for 2013. The BMW HP4 and the Ducati 1199 Panigale R. I own both motorcycles and I'll give you a fair and unbiased review of both and in the end tell you which one I prefer and why. Both bikes are pretty much stock with the exception of the HP4. I removed the Akrapovic full titanium exhaust and replaced it with this Brox Performance full titanium exhaust. On the Panigale R, it's pretty much in stock configuration. I've added some aftermarket parts and bits to it, but for the most part, it is as it's set from the factory. Neither one of these motorcycles have had their engines altered in any way, shape, or form. So we're going to go ahead and give you a full review of them and see which one makes it on top. Let's talk about the styling of the Panigale R. The LED headlights, remarkable. The exposed aluminium on the gas tank, an added touch of flair. Matte carbon fiber is just beautiful. The rear tail section here, gorgeous. The single-sided swing arm, a Ducati tradition, remarkable. In all, you'd have to be crazy to think that this bike isn't beautiful. And it doesn't stop there. We have a full TFT display here. And it has 3 modes: day, night, and auto. In day mode, which it's in right now, it's white on black instruments. And in night mode, it's black on white. And you can set it to automatically change, so you don't have to do it yourself by going into the menu here, clicking on backlight. You see, day, night, and auto. Let's see how it looks in night mode here. We'll save our changes and try to exit the system. Oops, let's go back and exit. And here we are. It's black on white. It's absolutely gorgeous, particularly at night. That is a phenomenal TFT display. Now I'm going to show you the remarkable LED headlights on this motorcycle, a world's first as far as I know. And they just produce an immense amount of light onto the roadway. But what I can appreciate about this setup is that Ducati is using both sides of the headlight for the low beams. On some European motorcycles and some Japanese bikes, only one side of the headlight is actually on for the low beam, and you always get 1 or 2 people that want to tell you that one of your headlights are out. But Ducati has remedied that situation by having both lights on. And if we walk around to the back of the motorcycle, you can see these are the lights that are on, the running lights. But Ducati has chosen to use a dedicated light for the brake light. Absolutely beautiful. The overall craftsmanship and workmanship on the Ducati is just superb. Matte carbon fiber adorns this motorcycle in various places. And they even made such attention to detail that we have an indents for the wiring on the fairing here. It's absolutely gorgeous. Carbon fiber heat shield for the exhaust. Marcassini forged aluminum wheels are on this motorcycle. 3-spoke design. The HP4 also has Marcassini wheels, but we'll get onto that in just a moment. I really like this lever that covers the start button on the Panigale. You have to flip it up to start the motorcycle, but let's hear how it sounds, huh? So now we've heard how the Panigale R sounds from a cold start, and I think it sounds pretty amazing. I'm really hard pressed to find any flaws with this motorcycle, but we'll address those in the conclusion. Let's take a look at the HP4. It has Brembo brakes with Brembo rotors and Brembo discs, steel braided lines, but surprisingly absent is a Brembo master cylinder. The Panigale R, however, features Brembo M50 calipers, Brembo rotors, and a Brembo master cylinder. So our first comparison for braking goes to the Panigale R. It just stops remarkably well, and it could be in part because the bike weighs less than the HP4, or it could be because it has a full Brembo system, including the master cylinder. But whatever the reason, the Panigale R stops better than the HP4. The BMW HP4 comes standard with dynamic dampening control. It's BMW's proprietary system that automatically adjusts to road conditions up to 100 times per second. This semi-active suspension works really well. In fact, that when you're riding the bike and you go over a series of bumps, you may not feel them very much. And when you're taking corners or on a country road, the suspension tightens up on its own. The Panigale R features a full Öhlins suspension, including a rear TTX shock and front Öhlins forks, and it's electronically adjustable. But when you're riding the Panigale, it feels like it's just more sharp than the HP4. It feels like you have more control over the suspension. So, for the suspension, the winner goes to the Panigale R.
All right, let's talk about the instrument cluster on the HP4. I love the way that it's white on black. Okay, that's great. But it's not really digital. It's not a TFT display. The gauges, the instruments and the numbers are pretty large, and it looks really nice. I love the blue needle in the HP4 logo, but obviously the TFT display on the Ducati wins.
Moving on to fit and finish of the motorcycles, the HP4 has quite a bit of exposed wiring there. Granted, those HID ballasts were custom fitted onto the motorcycle, but if they were absent, you would still see some exposed wiring. Just not up to the same level as the Ducati. It's good, make no mistake, but for fit and finish, the winner goes to the Ducati Panigale R.
Let's give the BMW HP4 a cold start and hear how it sounds, eh? Let's hear how this Ducati sounds again so we can get a back-to-back comparison.
the winner of the sound contest, without a doubt, is the Panigale R. This bike sounds ferocious, and if you didn't know better, you would think it were the offspring of one Daenerys Targaryen, by the way that it emits flames from its dual canisters and snorts and pulsates at your every command from the drive-by-wire throttle. This motorcycle sounds ferocious, and it looks the part too. Clearly, this is the winner of the sound contest.
All right. So this is the low beam headlights on the Panigale. As you see against the wall here, it's pretty much a lot of light. I'm going to flick the high beam and you can see it's even more. It's amazing. This is really amazing. High beam, low beam. High, low. So there you are. I think you can see here that the Ducati with the LED headlights produces more light on the roadway than the HP4 with HID digital ballasts and 5K bulbs installed. It's just a beautiful machine. And the lights have gone off to save the battery, and those are so both bikes now have their running lights on. So you can see on the Panigale it has LED running lights, which look pretty cool. And the HP4, it came with white bulbs. I replaced the right side with blue and the left side with white, so it looks pretty stunning. All in all, both bikes look great with their running lights on.
My general riding impressions of the HP4 is that the bike is a very smooth and linear motorcycle. The inline-4 motor is extremely powerful. You get the bulk of the power at the top end, above 8,000 RPM, but when you do get that power, it is blasting, and it doesn't stop until the bike redlines. The bike's quick shifter is very nice and smooth. It makes a popping sound when you engage the quick shifter into the next gear. That sounds pretty great. There seems to be a slight delay in the quick shifter when it engages the next gear as opposed to the Panigale. But aside from that, it's pretty good. The Panigale R, it is also equipped with a quick shifter, and the quick shifter on this bike is better than the quick shifter on the HP4. There is no delay when you engage into the next gear. It does not make any popping sounds. You pretty much don't know that it's engaging the next gear at all. There's no shimmy in the chassis or anything of that nature. And therefore, the quick shifter on the Panigale R is superior. Um, the cornering and the suspension on the Panigale, as I mentioned earlier, I prefer it over the HP4 as well. Because the bike is lighter and more agile, you feel like you can do more on the motorcycle. You feel like you can take corners more aggressively if you so dare. Um, the electronics aren't always interfering as they tend to do on the HP4 unless you completely turn everything off. For the street, it's just a more enjoyable bike to ride. You're always going to know what the bike is going to do. It always keeps you focused, and it keeps your attention planted on the bike when you're riding it. Whereas on the HP4, you can almost daydream if you want when you're riding the bike because it's very forgiving. The electronics are going to be there to save you. On the Panigale, you better be paying attention. You better not be thinking about anything else other than riding this bike and concentrating on the road conditions, your surroundings, and the motorcycle itself. The seat is not as comfortable on the Panigale. Although I have ridden it for about 4 hours straight, I didn't have any issues. And again, I'm 6'3", 235 pounds, so I didn't have any issues at all. The seating position, I think, is better on the Panigale than on the HP4. And now you might be wondering which motorcycle is faster, and for that, we put them both up against the same person riding a ZX-10. The ZX-10 has its ECU flashed M4 exhaust, and both riders weigh the same. As you see in this video, the HP4 quickly and swiftly does away with the ZX-10. And now we're on the Panigale R, racing the same person on the ZX-10 on the left. You can see his HID headlights flashing against the Rizoma brake reservoir, and they're off. The ZX-10 has a slight lead at this point, and now the Panigale R is passing, and has passed him, achieving speeds over 181 miles per hour.
Here we go, dyno pool, 2013, BMW S1000 RR, 197 at the rear wheel. 197 at the rear wheel.
That is impressive.
2013 BMW HP4 motorcycle. On pump gas, Brock's Performance. I'm going to run it again. Again, 196.9 to the rear wheel. 2013 BMW HP4 motorcycle, Brock's Performance, full titanium exhaust. It's hybrid custom tune, pump fuel in the motorcycle. DDC control, ABS is off, slip mode is down to -7.
Yeah.
Well, it's time to summarize my findings on both of these beautiful motorcycles. The Panigale R is just a fantastic machine. It's very beautiful to look at, very thrilling to ride, and very nice to own in general. It has a 2-year unlimited mile warranty. It has remarkable styling, LED headlights, dedicated brake light, single-sided swing arm, all of the Ducati characteristics and Ducati feeling and soul that one would expect from a motorcycle that costs nearly $30,000. The HP4 is a very smooth motorcycle, very easy to ride, very forgiving, has excellent electronics, a fantastic DDC suspension, launch control, and heated grips. But if I had to pick one of these bikes over the other, I would go with the Panigale R. It has better brakes, a better suspension, a better TFT instrument cluster. Fit and finish is better. The engine and exhaust sound is better than this HP4. The headlights are better than the HP4. The quick shifter works better than the HP4. Pretty much the only thing that the HP4 wins over the Panigale is comfort, and the HP4 has a better warranty, being that it's 3 years unlimited, 3 years, 36,000 miles, but it also comes with free roadside assistance. If you could own both bikes, I'd encourage you to do so, but if you had to pick one, it would be this Panigale R. But I'm not going to tell you that the Panigale doesn't have its issues. The bike does get hot. My remedy for that situation is simply to go faster. I've ridden it on 80 degree plus days. The engine read a temperature of 214 degrees Fahrenheit, and the bike did feel a little hot. I increased my speed and sort of shifted my body position around a little bit, and that situation was resolved. The Panigale also has a slight lurching issue in first and second gear. And the way that you resolve that is just by engaging into the next gear using the flawless quick shifter, and that issue is resolved. The HP4, the launch control on this motorcycle is fantastic. It's a nice gimmick, a nice thing to show folks, but you get the same thrill from the Panigale just by riding it up the street casually. On the HP4, you sort of have to engage in some pretty high speed maneuvers to get the same thrill that you would get out of riding the Panigale at a normal pace. So my overall pick is the Ducati Panigale R. Thank you for taking the time to view this video. I hope it was useful for you. Please subscribe to my channel and ride safe. And as always, thank you for viewing.